Photoshop 2, doing a realistic drawing with one color. In my Photoshop drawing here, I've made a background layer that was solid. I placed the flower. The picture is in Media Art Dropbox. I added a color layer and a line layer. Right now the color layer should be locked. I've drawn the line layer. The flower layer is locked. And if I hide it, I have a simple line drawing. Now, I'm going to accent some lines in here, so I'm going to the line layer. I'm not drawing literally everything, but some of these blue streaks coming down here are interesting and they help define the flower. I'm not going to copy them all, and they should be light. They should have some of the curve of the flower. Be discreet in what you use here. I'm not drawing these pixels here. They're just too hard to see, and they're not going to be in blue, so that's not going to carry. But I did darken in their shadows. So the shadows are going to give it some shape and definition. Could have done a better job with that one. I'll clean that up later. And there's going to be below the color, so it won't matter. And if I hide the flowers, I can see a pretty close design. Most people can recognize that as a flower. Now, I'm going to lock the line layer and open up the color layer. When you're working in Photoshop, it's a really good idea to lock a layer you don't mean to use. Once you put two different things on one layer, you can't separate them. Now these brushes are very flexible. There's a lot of traits that they have. You have the diameter, the size, which is what you picked here, and the hardness. You have the type of brush it is up here, leave it at normal for now. The opacity, how much you can see through it, and the flow, how quickly it comes out. And this one right here is tricky. That's an airbrush. That's all you have to do to change it from a regular brush to an airbrush. And that's what we're going to use on the color layer. I want flow to be well below 100%. Let's set it at 50. And the opacity, let's set that nice and low too. The idea behind this is we're not coloring in with solid blotches like a cartoon. We're going to lay layers on top of layers. And this shadow here, it's not going to be black. It's going to be more of this color. This area right in here has a little lighter color. This has very little of the blue color. Okay, so we're going to make a bigger brush. And if it goes over the edges, that's fine. We can clean those up later. And the hardness goes way down, so it has a soft edge. Now let's pick a color. I wonder if we could just go to the flower layer and pick that up. It won't pick that up. So let's just pick a color in here. And it doesn't have to be a realistic color, it can be any color you want. Yeah, let's change it completely. I'm going to change it to this mauve color. As I touch, I just get a little spray. I can go back and forth. In fact, I want this brush to be bigger and the hardness to be down to 0. So a lot of little strokes, starting in the darkest areas. And I'm going to add more to it later. So here on this shadow, I want kind of a hard line here. And I'm going in the direction of the flower. But in here, I want less, so I'll have even less flow, less opacity, and make it lighter. Hide the brush, hide the flower, and you can see what we're really painting. I know it's blotchy. That's why we come back and over and do it again and again and again. And if we want it more intense, you just do it many more times. You can't do this in one shot. Also, don't worry about the edges, except for the stem. We don't want to mess that up. We'll come back and get that later. Want to cover a larger area? Make it a larger brush. I'm going in the line of the petals, so any distortion would look right there. Let's hide the brush, hide the flower. Could have done a better job here. Going to go to a smaller brush, more opacity, and give this more depth. As I'm looking at it, I'm nuts about this color. I could do another color layer and replace that, This is not meant to be an exact copy by any means, but try to do what you can do to get the shape of the flower. You are going to go over the edges, but that's easily taken care of. Flip your pen around, do a little bit of erasing. Okay, you've got 2 days to do this. It's going to take some time. You pick the color, but I want this to be as realistic as you can make it and give it a sense of style. Remember, you're using only one color. So the stems, we'll leave those alone. I didn't mean to do that. And when you save it, remember, it gets saved as a JPEG. You're going to go to File, Export, Save As, a JPEG. What you're going to turn in has to be a JPEG and not Photoshop.